Good morning. I'm Charles Kuralt, and this is Sunday Morning. The earth is bathed in the light of Easter morning, and we have some triumphs of the spirit to celebrate today. Our cover story, however, to be reported by David Culhane, is not about life, it's about death. The death of trees and of trout, caused casually by human beings who don't care. Other human beings who do care are trying to stop acid rain, the rain of destruction.
You can't see it, you can't feel it, and you can't smell it. But it's there, killing fish and forest. It is acid rain, one of the 3 or 4 most dangerous threats to our environment. This Sunday morning, we'll see how the Reagan administration is inching forward to do something about it, while environmentalists demand stronger action.
To create art that is certain to be regarded with wonder for all time to come. That was the aim of Laura Gilpin, an extraordinary photographer, and she did it. We'll show you some old images that are enduring. A Peace Corps all their own, reported by Bob Pierpoint, harkens back to the legacy of John F. Kennedy, and farther back to calls for peace on earth.
The carpenters, painters, and plumbers building this house in Americus, Georgia, are college students. They're on a special program sponsored by DePaul University in Indiana, which every January sends teams of largely affluent students to help the poor in various parts of the world. Later on Sunday morning, we'll explore this unique learning experience.
Ron Powers reviews a CBS movie about local television news. George Herman meets a playground designer. There's more to it than swings and slides and jungle gyms. Eugenia Zuckerman has a repeat report on Avery Fisher. He gives away money, and that news is music to our ears. David Martin joins us to talk about the sombering question of whether the Christian Holy Week will be followed by a Muslim Holy War. And we'll review last week's news, as we always do. But first, here are this morning's headlines. The White House has said no to a proposal yesterday by Soviet leader Gorbachev. Gorbachev proposed that President Reagan meet him in Europe soon to discuss a nuclear test ban. The White House said the meeting would not serve United States interests. The former president of the Philippines, Ferdinand Marcos, is going to host an Easter party at his home in Hawaii today, the first social gathering since he was forced into exile. The guests are said to number between 500 and 1,000, and they're all being asked to bring their own lunches. In most of this country, the weather will be fine for an Easter parade, fair and unseasonably warm. In New York City, the high will be close to 80 degrees.
Ever notice how you don't fully appreciate what you have until you lose it? When cataracts started to cloud my vision, I found that I missed the little things as much as the big ones. So I called National Vision Information Center and discovered how easy it is to treat cataracts and how Medicare can pick up most of the cost.
As I started getting older, my vision started to blur, cataracts, and it made me angry. I wasn't about to give up my active lifestyle. So I called the National Vision Information Center and found out how easy it was to treat my problem and that Medicare can pay most of the cost.
For your free information kit on cataracts, call toll-free 1-800-548-7000. That's 1-800-548-7000. You'll get complete details in the mail at no obligation. So call now, toll-free 1-800-548-7000.
Believe me, it's well worth looking into.
Valet parking, of course, at 32nd Avenue Brasserie on West End.
I never appreciated the genius of American builders until I saw the skyline of New York City. I never really loved flowers until I saw an arrangement from Emma's. Emma's, the superlative florist.
People were not all loving their neighbors as themselves last week. Around the world, they were instead threatening, excoriating, wounding, capturing, bombing, and killing their neighbors. One of the most newsworthy confrontations was between the United States and its neighbor, half a globe away, Libya. Our review of the week's news begins with silent evidence in black and white of what happens when you shoot at the U.S. Navy. One of 2 Libyan patrol boats bombed by Navy planes, a Navy photograph. The issue, said the United States, was its right to practice military maneuvers in a part of the Mediterranean it calls international waters. Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi says these waters are not international, they belong to Libya. When U.S. jets entered the area anyway, his missiles tried to shoot them down.
We exercise our duties to fight for our houses, for our families.
The United States responded by shelling not only Libyan patrol boats, but also a radar site on Libyan land. The administration was unanimous.
We answered fire with fire.
And we responded appropriately and in kind.
Congratulations, one and all, for a job well done.
On Capitol Hill, however, there was also concern, especially from the Foreign Affairs Committee, that the president had sidestepped the law by not consulting Congress. Reaction in Libya started off as defiant, several young people saying they'd fight for their country. But then the Libyans were told they'd won the confrontation, that they had shot down U.S. planes and scared their powerful enemy away. Muammar Gaddafi staged victory celebrations, starring himself. He also called for suicide attacks against American installations in the Middle East, and he warned if U.S. ships and planes return, he will retaliate against whatever European bases harbor them. None of that made the overall situation in the Middle East any more peaceful. In Syria, Libya's closest ally, tens of thousands of people chanted "No to American terrorism." Warlike tension between Syria and Israel increased as both sides positioned their tanks, and Israel ordered 15,000 troops to a military exercise near the Syrian border. Nor were the Lebanese given a respite from violence. A car bomb in Christian East Beirut killed 10 persons. The United States' hard line was felt not only in Libya, but also in a Central American dawn. After a hotly disputed report that more than 1,000 Nicaraguan Sandinista soldiers had surged into next-door Honduras to fight rebels there, U.S. helicopters soon moved Honduran soldiers into the area. 2 reputed Sandinistas were displayed as prisoners, but Honduras generally played down the report. The Honduran foreign minister.
This incursion does not represent a major threat to the security of Honduras.
But it was a major help in the administration's plan to get more aid to the Contras. After an acrimonious debate, the Senate voted 53 to 47 for the $100 million aid package. But the president still needs to persuade the House to reverse its no vote. Not to be overlooked in the world's harbors of violence, from part of South Africa, off limits to cameras, came an especially bloody report that police killed 30 people in one day. In Haiti, there was a tense demonstration by 15,000 people against their military government. In Alaska, an eruption of nature, the Augustine volcano began spewing ash over faraway cities. There was peaceful news, too. The U.S. economy pointed healthily up for many people, while oil prices still tumbled down. Oscar night starred 1985's top 2 film actors elected by their peers. The best actress, Geraldine Page, chewed her nails before she was named, and then was so encapsulated by admirers she had trouble standing up. And the best actor, William Hurt, managed a dazed walk to the stage where he described his heartbeat.
Ba-boom, 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 you know, it's incredible.
This portion of Sunday Morning is sponsored by General Electric. At GE, we bring good things to life.
Dinner's ready. Ooh, looks great. I'll get dessert.
What a cup!
City feet, country feet, fleet feet, neat feet.
No matter how you treat your feet, Dr. Scholl's makes you feel like dancing with double comfort air pillow insoles, hidden comfort half insoles for high heel shoes, workday insoles for hard working feet, Scenic Fresh Step insoles.
Tired feet, active feet.
Dr. Scholl's has all kinds of comfort for all kinds of feet, right here.
Dr. Scholl's makes you feel like dancing.
Some of you are being asked to choose a long-distance phone company. If you don't choose, someone's going to choose for you. And you know how that could make you feel. So if AT&T's clear long-distance connections and full services are important to you, send in your ballot. AT&T Long Distance, for over 100 years, when you reached out, we were there. And you can keep it that way by making the choice yourself.
Now, there's a good, strong cup of coffee that's also incredibly smooth. It's Marigore Bold from Taster's Choice, and it begins with the world's fullest flavored gourmet coffee beans. Roasted long and roasted dark until they're ready to burst with rich coffee flavor. For a strong, smooth cup of coffee, Marigore Bold. And Marigore Bold naturally decaffeinated. Bold reasons why the choice for taste is Taster's Choice.
We terraced the hills and cut down the woods and paved the meadows and dumped our sewage into the clear streams of America. We did this without thinking about it much and for our own immediate benefit. Now it seems we have been doing something else to the land, something we didn't even know we were doing. And it seems to be about the worst thing of all. The Reign of Destruction, our cover story, reported by David Culhane.
When the heads of government of the United States and Canada get together, they talk about international trade, the defense of the continent, and joint projects in space. But the main topic, the corrosive element that produces tension between the two countries, is something else, something rather less tangible. It was present at their latest meeting in Washington 10 days ago.
Long after it's no longer fashionable to discuss Nicaragua in Washington, you're going to be discussing the environment. You can be certain of that.
Canadian Prime Minister Brian Mulroney was talking about acid rain.
This is not a Canadian problem. This is a Canadian and an American problem. It is killing the environment in the United States just as surely as it is in Canada.
For years, Canada has charged that American industry is a major source of pollution for both countries.
This thing has been kicked around, debated to death, in Canada and elsewhere.
You can't see it, you can't feel it, but it is there. It is compounds of sulfur and nitrogen, acids falling from the sky, often carried by snow, fog, or rain. This acid rain is one of the major pollutants stunting tree growth, mortally wounding fish and insects, damaging whole life systems. Now the United States and Canada have signed a new agreement. At the Washington meeting, President Reagan formally acknowledged for the first time that acid rain is a serious problem, and he accepted a recommendation that American government and industry should spend $5 billion over the next 5 years to find new ways to reduce American industrial pollution. Critics say the agreement is too little, possibly too late.
If you want to solve the acid rain problem, that means you have to reduce the emissions of the sulfur and nitrogen compounds that you put in the atmosphere when you burn fossil fuels. That is very expensive. Now, therein lies the beginning of my pessimism.
Scientist James Galloway of the University of Virginia is one of many environmentalists who were disappointed that the Washington meeting did not lead to specific goals for reducing acid rain.
I don't believe that the current administration will ever reduce the emissions of sulfur and nitrogen oxides enough such that you'll see aquatic ecosystems recover from acidification effects.
Essentially, this is a computer model.
This is definitely a computer model.
Which allows you to project
That's
into
right.
the future.
And it takes
A computer model at the University of Virginia offers a forecast of what happens after many decades of acid rain.
pH, but then as the rain increases in acidity, you see a beginning drop in the pH of the stream, and it drops down to 4.0, very acid. Fish disappeared right in here, okay, in about the year 2000, which is what we're predicting is going to occur in Shenandoah National Park, about the year 2000. In all the material I've read about this plan for spending $5 billion, that nowhere do they say how much they're going to reduce the emissions of sulfur compounds to the atmosphere. As a scientist, that's what I want to know. What's this going to buy us relative to what the lakes and streams see?
The lakes and streams see millions of tons of pollution descending on them each year. One plant can pour out as much as 400,000 tons of sulfur oxide in a single year.
The air that gets emitted into Ohio tonight could arrive in Virginia tomorrow if the winds are blowing the right direction. And so we've turned now from this issue of pollution being a local issue to one that's a national and international issue.
The Environmental Protection Agency acknowledges the gravity of the acid rain problem.
The acid rain problem I would rank probably as the right in the top 1 or 2 problems.
Lee Thomas of the EPA argues that the plan to find new ways to reduce industrial pollution should be seen in the context of some progress in the last decade.
If you look at what happened over, say, the last 10 years with sulfur dioxide, you see that we were able to reduce sulfur emissions in this country by nearly 30%. That was because we moved forward with the regulatory approaches that we've been given the authority to move with under the Clean Air Act. That's exactly the direction we want to move with in the future.
We can burn coal cleanly presently with the existing technology that we have.
Denny Ellerman of the National Coal Association thinks concern about acid rain is exaggerated.
There is acidity in the environment, and there are instances of acidified lakes, but they're relatively localized. It is a manageable type problem. It is not a widespread ecological disaster. It's not a problem of crisis proportions. It doesn't pose any threat to human health.
The National Academy of Sciences has just come out with a new definitive report linking the burning of coal, acid rain, and damage to the environment. The report came out just days before the Reagan-Mulroney meeting in Washington. At first, acid rain was thought to be a problem only in the northeastern United States and Canada. But the new report also shows a rapid rise for the southeast. The effects can also be seen in other parts of North America. Its effects can be seen in the Blue Ridge Mountains of Virginia, in its forests and streams. And it is the people who live by them who are seeing the first visible effects of acid rain.
Rain, well, I'm sure glad they're studying acid rain because we need, they're convinced now.
Nature writer Darwin Lambert has lived in the Blue Ridge Mountains of Virginia for more than 20 years.
Well, we watched the visibility decrease in this area very drastically. We watched the haze, which is supposed to be blue, the Blue Ridge. We watched it turn brown every once in a while. We've begun to smell it sometimes.
Canada has already established a goal of reducing pollution that causes acid rain by 50% over the next decade. Canada really wants the United States to do the same. Many scientists agree.
The processes occurring.
Jim Galloway.
The longer we wait in control technologies, in controlling sulfur emissions to the atmosphere, the more difficult it's going to be to have these systems recover. I believe the United States should reduce sulfur emissions by at least 50%.
What's your sense? Lee Thomas of the EPA.
I would commend the Canadians for their program, but we don't have near the information. That's a part of our research program to say how fast can we move, how much more reduction do we need by percentage, and where does that reduction need to be made geographically, and of which pollutant. And you don't have the basic data to support that kind of goal setting.
And
Denny Ellerman of the National Coal Association.
I'd go back to the National Academy of Science report. I mean, it does say there is a problem. I mean, that's not the point. The issue is whether the science supports the sort of remedies that are being proposed on Capitol Hill, and that it doesn't.
Growth. Well, that's damaging to us all, surely. We can all understand that. If it's a matter
Each year now, Darwin Lambert wonders whether we are doing enough to save the environment, the world we live in. He wonders if the damage is already too great. He wonders if spring and Easter will come again. So far, it's been all right.
we have these spring mushrooms that come up called morels, and they're going to be coming now in a month or less. I think, well, I don't know if it's going to come back this time. Maybe we're lost. Maybe it will never go again. Maybe the whole system that we live in and that all the wild creatures and all the trees and everything lives in, maybe it's all slipping away from us. And then you find, well, there's one. There's a morel right over there. They're back again. It's going again. The whole thing's in gear as it should be.
So far, it's been all right.
This is how Seiko changes time. Fashion firsts, made to last. The Seiko Fashion Collection at authorized dealers.
Morning is your time. The earth wakes up with you. You always feel that spark of life in everything you do.
Grape nuts. For you, it's as natural as the morning. No sugar added, no preservatives, just an honest nutty crunch. Post Grape Nuts cereal. You know when you've got it good.
Yes, you know when you've got it good.
With a box of Jell-O brand gelatin and a little this and that, you can give them a good old time. Grab a melon, turn it round, turn an apple upside down. A sun-kissed orange goes great with Jell-O. Make it red, green, or yellow. Add a strawberry, peach, or pear, and watch them leap up in the air. Just look in these, and you'll find those. With Jell-O gelatin, any fruit goes. Jell-O gelatin, we're up to something good.
The ideal heat source, natural gas. Industry keeps discovering ways to get more from every BTU. The Timken Company found new gas furnaces improve the quality of steel alloys. Hammermill's new gas equipment produces better paper. Belden's new gas kiln speeds up brick making. New melters are cutting costs at Phoenix Glass. With new technology and new supplies, gas remains industry's most beautiful fuel.
If you've been waiting for the cost of a satellite system to reach a price you can afford, Perry Satellite Systems is offering for a limited time this fantastic offer. This beautiful, sturdy, decorative 10-foot black aluminum dish, state-of-the-art in-home receiver, and convenient handheld remote control for just $15.95. Now, this price includes installation and after-the-sale service 24 hours a day. Call our toll-free hotline at 1-800-228-3814. Bringing the world home to you, Perry Satellite Systems.
The objective? Sell over 36,000 cars and trucks nationwide to make March Mazda's biggest month in history. The progress? Fantastic. Mazda dealers have already sold thousands and thousands of vehicles. The reason? Incredible deals on 626 and 323 and special factory cash allowances that have saved buyers hundreds on Mazda trucks. The advice? March is almost over. Hurry to your Mazda dealers now.
Get a great Mazda deal today in Bowling Green, Clarksville, and Nashville.
If you've been waiting for the cost of a satellite system to reach a price you can afford, Perry Satellite Systems is offering for a limited time this fantastic offer. This beautiful, sturdy, decorative 10-foot black aluminum dish, state-of-the-art in-home receiver, and convenient handheld remote control for just $15.95. Now, this price includes installation and after-the-sale service 24 hours a day. Call our toll-free hotline at 1-800-228-3814. Bringing the world home to you, Perry Satellite Systems.
WKRN, Nashville's Channel 2.
It's Sunday morning on CBS, and here again is Charles Kuralt.
Enduring. The word refers to two books and one woman, and most of all to the one woman's work. Laura Gilpin, who died 7 years ago at the age of 88, worked most of her life as a commercial photographer. But she also worked free for herself, photographing the land and people she was drawn to. The Amon Carter Museum in Fort Worth has organized a major show of her work. It is, in a word, enduring.
Great. That's completely different from anything I've done. Fine.
Even in her 80s, Laura Gilpin was photographing the American Southwest. She loved the land of Arizona and New Mexico, and she loved its native people.
There were many times where she hardly had the money to drive out to the Navajo reservation from her home in Santa Fe, but she persevered.
Martha Sandweiss organized the Laura Gilpin show for the Amon Carter Museum, and she wrote the book. Both are called An Enduring Grace. Laura Gilpin was born in Colorado. She went to New York to study photography. She became ill in the influenza epidemic of 1918 and had to go home. A young nurse named Betsy Forster was hired to care for her. Laura got well. Betsy went on to other patients. The two remained friends. And then Betsy took a job as a nurse on the Navajo reservation.
She worked there from 1931 to 33, and during that time, Laura Gilpin was her frequent visitor. Betsy really introduced Laura during those years to what would become the most important subject of Laura Gilpin's work.
The subject was the Navajos.
All of her Navajo photographs are very still, quiet sorts of photographs. Certainly none of them are candid shots. They're people who are pleased and proud to have their photographs made. And if you look at these people, you notice many of them are wearing their very best silver jewelry and their very best velveteen blouses.
Well, we're going to print a picture that I made over at Red Rock in 1932 when Miss Foster was a nurse over there. And I went out with her to see a sick patient whose name, believe it or not, was Hardbelly.
Because she was the nurse's friend, Laura Gilpin was invited inside Hardbelly's Hogan.
She was demonstrating how to drop digitalis because the old man had a heart condition. And I went in with her, and they had no objection to my setting up. We asked, of course, if I could make the picture, and that seemed to be fine. So, and I marvel now, when I think of it, to have gotten a picture of this kind in an interior in a Hogan with this family and this sick man on his pallet. But I made this with my 8x10 camera and funny wide-angle lens I have that has no shutter, and just the f-stops.
Betsy lost her job on the reservation during the Depression. Laura became involved in other projects. But always in the back of her mind, she wanted to return to Navajo country. When she did return in the 50s, she found life for the Navajos was changing, and not necessarily for the better. Laura Gilpin never turned her cameras on the drinking and other social problems. What interested her was how some of the old ways remained, even in the midst of change. She called her book The Enduring Navajo.
She photographed families. There's one marvelous photograph of a medicine man who has an arm protectively around his two young daughters who are still dressed in very traditional Navajo clothes. And his son stands quite proudly beside him in a western blue jean jacket and a cowboy hat.
In the 30s, Laura Gilpin had photographed a young mother and her son. In the 50s, when she went back, she learned the son had been killed in World War II. The family still lived in the same Hogan. Its only decoration, the flag from his coffin. And she found Mrs. Hardbelly, one of the wives of the old man Betsy had treated so long ago.
Oh, it's good to be in the plane again. I love to work from the air. There's a terrific challenge about it because you never know whether you're really going to come off or not.
Rest assured, Laura Gilpin, you made photographs with enduring grace.
Tales of heartburn from Gaviscon antacid. Once a man ate all of Italy.
Pasta
Oh, with tomato sauce and garlic.
In one night.
And the garlic.
And the only thing that may seem worse than daytime heartburn
Heartburn.
is nighttime heartburn. Fortunately, there was Gaviscon, specially formulated so it not only gives fast relief during the day, it even works at night when you're lying down. Gaviscon Antacid, it even works lying down. The GE electronic refrigerator. It speaks for itself.
GE, we bring good things to life.
Plymouth shows you why the pride is back. Plymouth Voyager, car-like handling Plymouth's 550 protection plan. Versatile Plymouth Voyager.
The pride is back. Born in America again.
Chrysler Plymouth says, thanks again, America, with $500 or $1,000 back on every car we build.
At the Wall Street Journal, we believe that building a dream takes more than luck and hard work. It takes a vision of what tomorrow holds today. At the Journal, we've been giving people that vision for over 90 years. The Wall Street Journal, the daily diary of the American dream.
There's going to be a movie on CBS later this week. The subject is local television news, and that's Ron Power's subject this morning. Ron?
Charles? Well, last Sunday in this corner, we took a look at the bright promise of local television news. A new era of satellite link-ups, mobile studios, and lightweight cameras that is boosting some local stations into competition with the networks. But not so fast with the Nobel Peace Prize. This week, we dwell for a few minutes on the dark underside of local television news. Eyewitness news, as it is sometimes called. The news business as show business. Video journalism as a combination of hairspray, greed, and silliness as depicted in a new television movie.
Action 3 News Promo, 601, take 9.
She deserved to be protected by the media. Instead, she was implicated yesterday by this station in a criminal affair.
I have a couple of final quibbles here. I had trouble believing that any local station would push an unproved rape story as far as this one did. Most local news goes wrong by trivializing, not by gutter journalism. Second, I'd like to have seen more humor in News at 11. The subject is ripe for satire, and this movie is awfully solemn. Still, it's well worth watching, if for no other reason than seeing Martin Sheen in an anchorman's hairdo.
Let us turn to a more harmonious collaboration, one stippled with plenty of humor, and in fact founded on child's play. George Herman takes us from start to finish.
Let's see, figure this out. Where am I with these things? Oh, let's see what we got here. What have we got here? What have we got here? You kids know what we got here? We got a roof right there. There's a roof. Okay, any other questions? Any other ideas what we put in it?
Where's the haunted house?
Haunted house.
Where's the maze?
The maze is right there. Now, this is a lighthouse somehow. I haven't figured out how that's going to get done. And then as you go through here, this is the wings of the dragon that come in here like that. You climb right through.
Meet a new kind of Pied Piper, the Pied Piper of playgrounds.
Holy moly!
Robert Leathers spends a lot of his time surrounded by kids.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm an architect. Does anybody know what an architect does? What's an architect do?
He designs things.
Architects design things, that's right. Now, usually architects design buildings, houses, office buildings, schools. Anyone know what I'm designing today?
A playground.
A playground, that's right. Actually, you know, that's not really true. I really am not designing the playground. There's a whole group of experts. Anybody know who the playground experts are? Yes, you are. All of you are the experts.
Up until last year, the Sippican School in Marion, Massachusetts had pretty much standard-issue playground equipment. Then some parents learned about the work of Robert Leathers and his architectural firm in Ithaca, New York. They invited him to come design a playground for Marion. He said first he'd have to consult his clients.
Your mother and fathers aren't going to play in the playground. You are going to play in it. It's yours. And because it's yours, you can have anything in the world on this playground. Anything in the world. Now, somehow we got to be able to build it. And it's got to be safe. But if we can build it, you can have it. What do you want more than anything else on this playground? What do you want most?
A teeter-totter.
A teeter-totter. What else?
One of those slides that you climb up and you go down in a circle.
Those are hard. We'll see if we can get enough money. And if we can get enough money, we'll get it for you. That's a hard one, but we'll try. See if we can get it. Yes.
A tire swing.
What kind of tire swing?
Like a tire that you can sit on, you can swing on it.
Okay, and it's just hanging or is it spinning?
It's hanging.
Have you seen one of the tire swings that spins around like that? We could do one like that too, maybe. Think we should do one like that? Yeah, okay. We could do one like that. We could also do the tire swing that hangs. We'll do one like that too. Yeah.
Tire walk.
A tire walk. You got it. What else?
How about a really big slide? A swirly slide?
Swirly slide. And what, this comes down in circles, you mean, kind of like that? Yeah, okay. Well, how many want a swirly slide? I think we should. Okay. If we get enough money, we'll have a swirly slide. We'll see what we can get.
All morning long, the architect gets ideas. Then at lunchtime in the cafeteria, he starts drawing.
Yeah, that's the size of you. That's how big you are next to the playground. And this is like you're looking down from an airplane at the playground from the sky.
And gets more ideas.
For Robert's jail cell, could you please change that to a torture chamber?
Okay, right.
Yeah, but it's really nice.
We can do that maybe. Okay. Okay, now, this gives you some idea. We're just beginning to get the ideas together of what we're going to have on this playground. But when you come into this playground, in the very middle of it is going to be the big haunted house. Now, to get into it, you climb through this tunnel of tires and climb right inside this room with all these monsters inside. Now, you get out of that monster, you go up ladders. If you go up the ladder to the left, you're going to go across a bridge. It's a bouncy bridge. Clatters up and down when you go across. And you go across to another tower on the other side. The other tower is going to be the side of the spaceship. Now, that whole playground and much more when we get all the ideas from the other kids. We're going to build that playground in 1 weekend. Just 1 weekend it's going to take to build that huge, giant playground.
5 months later, the children and parents of Marion, Massachusetts were building their playground in 1 weekend in the rain. They'd raised $55,000, persuaded people to donate material, and they were providing the labor for free.
That's right, and they'll come right down to it again. That one out there, once again, does not move.
Stay there,
They'll
okay.
stay right
4
where it
inches
is.
down and then the new board's in here.
Got it.
Part of Bob Leathers' philosophy is that building a playground can bring a community together, just like an old-fashioned barn raising. This was the 251st playground he had designed. Leathers is the first to admit that he repeats some design elements. But he says each playground is unique. Marion is a town of boat lovers on the south shore of Cape Cod. So, for Marion, he designed
The combination castle, monster, and the almost ship's harbor over there with the 2 boats in it.
And the next morning, the sun came out over Marion, and the Pied Piper's magic had done it again.
be shot. Yes!
Hi, looking for a great party album? Well, Sessions has a new one called The All-Nighter. It's got 50 of the greatest party hits ever by the original artists. Just listen. The All-Nighter even has your favorite ballads. Baby, come to me.
Almost paradise. I never seen love like this before. Why don't they do what they say?
The All-Nighter is a complete party album. This giant 4-record set has everything, from classic hits by the Beach Boys to current smash hits by Van Halen and Quiet Riot.
She's a maniac, maniac on the floor. Gonna rock it down, rock it inside out. I want you to take me to funky town. This ain't urgent, so urgent.
The All-Nighter is also available on 3 cassette tapes. You get this fantastic collection of 50 great party hits for just $19.95. Here's how to order.
COD and credit card customers call toll-free 1-800-445-7500. That's 1-800-445-7500. Or save $3 in COD fees by sending $19.95 for 4 records or 3 cassette tapes, plus $2.50 shipping and handling to The All-Nighter, Suite 107, 7020 Church Street, Brentwood, Tennessee.
Avery Fisher celebrated his 80th birthday this month. We think that's reason enough to visit again a man who has lived his life in a perfect circle. Having earned millions of dollars from others' love of music, he gave millions of dollars away for the benefit of music lovers, including himself. Eugenia Zuckerman guides our visit to Avery Fisher and to New York's resounding Avery Fisher Hall.
Is it in any way a burden to you that people know the name Avery Fisher? And
Well, they assume that people who have their names on concert halls are dead, you see. No, I no longer associate, at that place, that name particularly with myself. It's, you know, it's like a logo, that's all, really. And I go there, like everybody else, to enjoy what takes place.
Avery Fisher Hall is the main concert hall in the Lincoln Center Performing Arts Complex in New York City. It is grand, elegant, and comfortable. More than 400 musical events take place here each year, attended by almost 1 million people, including Avery Fisher and his wife, Janet.
There's such a pleasure in saturating yourself with gorgeous sound, with the harmonies of this world. The harmonies that are completely removed from the realities outside that hall.
The reality is that the hall is what it is today, in good measure because of Avery Fisher. He gave $10 million in 1973 for an endowment to cover the operation and maintenance of one of the buildings in the complex, then called Philharmonic Hall.
for me, has always been a source of solace in what we all know is a very untidy world. In 1969, I was then 63 years of age. Having worked very hard for many years, I decided to do something else for the rest of my life. Well, up until that time, all my assets were tied up in my company. But by selling my company in 1969, I generated some cash at long last.
The company was Fisher Radio, started by him in 1937 with one employee. It became internationally successful, producing top-of-the-line high-fidelity equipment for the home. An early model is included in the collection of the Smithsonian Institution.
That money, those assets, had to come from somewhere. Had to have come from somewhere. And that somewhere were the music lovers of this world who bought my equipment. And I felt, and I have no regrets, I wanted to give some of it back in a form that would make sense and give pleasure to as many people as possible.
But for many, the hall had not been giving pleasure. Since it first opened, there had been severe criticism of its acoustics. So, Avery Fisher gave another $500,000 towards a major interior renovation.
I like to think that I have a pair of ears that can discriminate as to what's good and what isn't good. Philharmonic Hall wasn't as bad as some people said it was. And it was not as good as some people claimed it was. It could have been better.
When it reopened in late 1976, renamed Avery Fisher Hall, the consensus was that it was better. A fitting home for the New York Philharmonic, a major concert hall in the world. A native New Yorker, Fisher was not born wealthy. He wanted to be a doctor, but there was no money for medical school when the Depression came. During the early 30s, he worked part-time in an advertising agency and also did ghostwriting.
Plastic surgeon would give me the French-English version of what he wanted to say, and I would put it into English. To give you an idea of the sort of problems he faced, he wanted to know if you had more than one footnote on a page, why were they not referred to as feet notes?
This is a quiet evening at home with the Fishers, some 20 guests, and music, played coincidentally by 3 Avery Fisher Prize winners.
I would say those are my greatest moments of joy. Not only music in a concert hall, but particularly music in the home. I think it was the middle of last month that we had, as an example, chamber music at home with Elmar Oliveira, Yo-Yo Ma, and Emmanuel Axe playing 2 Brahms piano trios. To me, there's no greater joy than having that kind of talent in your own living room.
man who cares not only about music, but about the musicians as well. Part of the proceeds from his original endowment to Lincoln Center are used for the Avery Fisher Prize.
The Avery Fisher Prize, awarded to Elmar Oliveira for outstanding achievement in music, April 20th, 1983. Elmar?
A non-competitive award, it is given to notable American musicians who are selected by a renowned committee. A modest man, he is not without honors.
By the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees of Manhattan School of Music and by the Board of Regents of the State of New York, I now confer upon you the degree of Doctor of Music with all the rights, privileges, immunities, and obligations thereunto appertaining.
Do you think of yourself as a musical Medici, at least in New York City?
I hate the word Medici. I hate the word philanthropist. I'm a guy who was very fortunate economically. With a great deal of luck and effort, I developed some spare cash. And I remember reading an article quite recently, I think it was in Harvard Magazine. One of their important benefactors said very simply, he said, it's a lot of fun to make money. It's not so much fun to have to manage it intelligently, but the greatest fun of all is giving it away. And that's the way I feel.
Real conflict.
He hit me. Papa's got a gun. She said, we don't want you here.
A real court of law.
I'd like to submit this as A.
Don't question me.
It's punitive damages that I'm asking for.
Don't ever do this again.
There's only one People's Court.
Weeknights at 6:30 on Nashville's Channel 2.
The decorator fabrics you need for draperies, slipcovers, and upholstery are now available in Nashville at Calico Corners. And Calico Corners makes the decorator look affordable by stocking high-quality fabrics from the finest mills in America and Europe. Just think of it. Thousands of yards of the world's greatest fabrics in stock at savings of up to 50%. Decorate like a professional at half the price at Calico Corners, Bavarian Village off Hillsborough Road.
Wouldn't you like to save 50% on your clothing and look like a million? You can with fine men's clothing from Berry Manufacturing because we sell factory direct to you. From elegant formal attire to contemporary casual wear, Berry's got your size from 35 short to 60 extra long. At Berry, you'll save 50% on sport coats, suits, slacks, tuxedos, shirts, and shorts. So don't pay high retail prices for real quality. Shop Berry Manufacturing, where factory direct prices and fine clothing have been our trademark for 85 years.
WKRN, Nashville's Channel 2.
This portion of Sunday Morning is sponsored by Post Grape Nut Cereal. The satisfying rugged crunch lets you know when you've got it good.
Morning is your time. The earth wakes up with you. You always feel that spark of life in everything you do.
Grape nuts. For you, it's as natural as the morning. No sugar added, no preservatives, just an honest nutty crunch. Post Grape Nut Cereal. You know when you've got it good.
Yes, you know when you've got it good.
With a buck
lots of Jell-O brand gelatin and a little this and that, you can give them a good old time. Grab a melon, turn it round, turn an apple upside down. A sun-kissed orange goes great with Jell-O. Make it red, green, or yellow. Add a strawberry, peach, or pear, and watch them leap up in the air. Just look in these, and you'll find those. With Jell-O gelatin, any fruit goes. Jell-O gelatin, we're up to something good.
Fuel-injected Dodge Lancers come with optional turbochargers, and you can't expect that kind of power to stay put.
It's the boys' night out, and they're cruising around. The boys' night out, and they're doing the round. They're heading up, heading out, looking for...
Now you can get up to $1,000 cash back on all new American-made Dodge cars. Thanks again, America.
They come from near and far with names like Bill, Frank, and Joanne. But they all share the same initials, G.E.
It's Sunday morning on CBS, and here again is Charles Kuralt.
Let's have a talk with David Martin at the Pentagon about the U.S. 6th Fleet's eventful cruise through the Gulf of Sidra last week. Good morning, David.
Morning, Charles.
I heard Caspar Weinberger on the radio saying the United States Navy was just demonstrating the right of international navigation when it sailed so close to the coast of Libya. I assume there was more to it than that.
Well, I think the administration is being more than a little disingenuous in claiming that this was merely a freedom of navigation exercise. This exercise was part of a series of exercises that were conceived and planned in the wake of the airport massacres in Rome and Vienna, and they were intended as a sort of show and tell for Gaddafi's benefits. We were going to show Gaddafi the kind of military power that we can amass off his shores, and show him that there's really nothing his forces can do about it. And of course, the message that you're trying to tell him is that if you do not cease and desist your support of terrorism, the three carriers are going to come back with more, and this time it won't just be a freedom of navigation exercise.
Well, I guess what you just said was pretty clear to most of the world, to the United States friends as well as its enemies. Why didn't the Pentagon just say that?
Well, I suspect it's because you don't want to proclaim as an objective something you're not sure you can accomplish. And certainly, right now, there is no evidence that this exercise in the Gulf of Sidra has been any more successful in forcing Gaddafi to abandon terrorism than, say, the aircraft carriers in the Gulf of Tonkin were in forcing North Vietnam to abandon its support for the war in the South. Gaddafi has issued calls for stepped-up suicide attacks against Americans. President Reagan has said publicly that we have spotted Libyan agents tailing Americans, presumably in preparations for attacks. So we may have won the Battle of the Gulf of Sidra in the sense that we showed that we can operate with impunity in Gaddafi's front yard, but the verdict on the war of terrorism is still very much out. And I think that the administration did not want to admit that it was also fighting that war in this exercise.
Some European allies of the United States were opposed to what happened last week because they thought it might make Gaddafi stronger in his own country, and it seems to have done so. Some of the Libyans are suffering from the downturn in the Libyan economy with the fall in the price of oil and all that. And now they're out in the streets supporting that madman of theirs, and Gaddafi's also received support from Syria and from Iran and others. The end result, you could argue, was of all this was to strengthen the man in his own country.
Well, there was a brief flap last week which never really amounted to a news story because it went away faster than you could report it. But at one point, the Italian government told the United States that it could no longer use the airfields in Italy to support this exercise. That means all the NATO bases in Italy are off limits to planes that were coming to and from the aircraft carriers. Now, that was quickly resolved and had no discernible effect on the exercise, but that's the kind of problem you're talking about in this disconnect between the way the U.S. has chosen to deal with Gaddafi and the way the European allies would like to deal with him. But to be fair to the administration, there's a dilemma here which is very difficult to solve, and that is that there's this enormous imbalance of power between the United States and Libya, but it cuts both ways. The United States has overwhelming conventional military power, but Gaddafi, in a sense, has overwhelming unconventional power. I mean, as we speak, the 3 aircraft carriers are at anchor off the coast of Sicily, and the reason they're at anchor and not in port is because the Pentagon does not want those sailors in port where they would be the target or potential targets for terrorist attacks over Easter weekend. So in a sense, Gaddafi is holding some 20,000 sailors hostage aboard his ships. Now, what does that say about who has the upper hand in this war on terrorism? The U.S. Has this overwhelming conventional force, 13 aircraft carriers. Gaddafi has none, but Gaddafi has about that many terrorist training camps. So who's better equipped to fight this war on terrorism? I think it's a very tough call. And the U.S. has chosen, because of all of the problems associated with fighting terrorism with terrorism, for instance, using our Delta counter-terrorist force for some sort of preemptive or retaliatory strike against Libyan agents, it has decided that that is just too murky and smacks too much of terrorism, that it has chosen to respond with this clear-cut military force, which is there for all to see and which performs, at least in this case, remarkably well, but which, as you can see, does not necessarily solve the problem of terrorism.
Yeah. Well, that's about as good an explanation as I've heard of the frustrations of being a big power in the world as it is today. Thank you, David.
Today, over 2 million front-wheel drive cars require experts to repair suspension and alignment problems. IC Industries is there. Our Midas muffler shops worldwide now repair front-end problems. IC Industries. Americans will spend $800 million this year for Mexican food. IC Industries is there. Our food company, Pet, produces Old El Paso brand. It's America's favorite. IC Industries.
Presenting new Tyson entrees, your passport to a world of great tastes. International classics like exciting chicken a l'orange with fruited rice pilaf. Tempting chicken sweet and sour with rice amandine. And robust chicken parmigiana with al dente linguine. Treat yourself to delicious Tyson entrees.
Sensational.
Tyson entrees, your passport to a world of great tastes.
Miss Jones! Oh, no, Miss Jones, 25 in red.
Because work is tough enough, there's Canon's NP3525 dual color copier. It lets you change colors.
Not the grapes in red, just the apples.
And it's the only copier that copies in 2 colors at the same time, with just a touch.
Oh, forget the grapes, just give me more apples.
Canon's dual color copier, with a singular difference. For information, call toll-free 1-800-OK-CANON.
This is how Seiko changes time. Fashion firsts, made to last. The Seiko Fashion Collection at authorized dealers.
There's a beautiful way of saying, if you want to honor your God, take care of anyone in need. And I'm about to recite it. the gentle but scrupulous command as attributed to Christ in the King James Version of the Bible. Inasmuch as ye have done it unto one of the least of these, my brethren, you have done it unto me. A Peace Corps all their own, reported by Robert Pierpoint, is our Easter offering.
I think that Americus, Georgia is just like another country because they're living in such poverty, something that we're not exposed to where we live. And a lot of us come from cities where we have our slum house, you know, whatever, but it's nothing compared to the shacks that you see in Americus.
Jennifer Pope is 18 years old. She is a freshman at DePaul University in Greencastle, Indiana.
Close my eyes, I think that sounds like a good idea, Anne.
Jennifer is one of 16 DePaul students who spent 2.5 weeks in Americus, Georgia in January helping the poor.
About to mention on my clothing.
She is part of what might be called DePaul's own private Peace Corps. Over the years, 1,200 DePaul students have helped out in dozens of communities around the world. DePaul student teams are working this year in Sierra Leone, West Africa, Peru, Nicaragua, Guatemala, and here in rural Georgia. Americus is one of the poorest communities in the country.
When you first walk in, there's a room that has about 6 beds, and then in the back room they have a kitchen, the refrigerator. The only thing I noticed the price they had was a refrigerator. And all throughout the house there's pots and pans and bowls and stuff set out to collect the rain when it rains through.
I think most people come back with a new understanding of the world.
Fred Lamar, DePaul's Methodist chaplain, is the driving force behind the work program.
One of the things that we don't realize is that 85% of the people in the world are barefoot, hungry, and live in a one-room, mud-walled, dirt-floored hut. But it doesn't mean anything until you've slept on the floor a few nights and been waked up by the donkeys at 3:30 and had to get up at 2:30 because the fleas were so bad you couldn't sleep anyway. Then you get a whole new understanding of what life is about.
A lot of times DePaul students they're mostly upper middle class students, and they haven't ever experienced people living in poverty, and a lot of them get really nervous.
Luann Stanley is 19 years old. She is a sophomore from Terre Haute, Indiana.
You have a lot of students from suburbs, and they just aren't used to seeing it. They don't see it in their own homes, and they just don't go to the places where they would see it.
From them first, then.
Luann and her classmates are attending a college that was founded by the Methodists in 1837. DePaul is still very Christian-oriented. Its 2,300 students come largely from the Midwest. Most belong to sororities and fraternities.
One of the trickiest things to do is to try to figure out how to interact in another culture and whether that culture be Georgia.
Chaplain Lamar's program is extremely popular, but the school can send out only about 140 students in the annual program.
I guess what we're going to try to do the next 3 hours is pick your brain up, take it out of your head, turn it 90 degrees, and put it back in. Because what we have to do is learn to see the world not through our Midwestern eyes, but through the eyes of the people with whom we're going to work. And this may be the most
Just before leaving campus, the students participated in lectures and games designed to help them cope with a new culture.
Thanks, appreciate it.
Everybody quit. Game's over. Jennifer's going to tell us about the culture. Hopefully, the tourists who go over there will be able to make it in that culture by what she says. Okay?
Okay, all the guys were in groups together, and all the girls in groups together, and there were 3 or 4 groups, and they're all staying real close, and all the girls were barefooted, and they're...
Scott, I send you forth to be a friend of the dispossessed, to be good news to the people of Americus, and to be a friend of local people everywhere. Claim the promise that you will always be one of those who care.
Okay, can somebody help me down below?
Most days, the students in Americus worked outdoors, demolishing old shacks or helping build new houses. Sometimes they got help from members of families who will move into these new homes. When it got too cold, the students worked indoors, stuffing fundraising envelopes for Habitat. That is the Christian movement that former President Jimmy Carter joined to help build homes for the poor. Habitat is based in Americus and hosts the DePaul program there.
And all the white people came when after her son or grandson or whoever had talked to the Habitat people, she was embarrassed by all these white people because she was not used to having them around, and she was not used to them doing nice things for her.
Okay, fair enough.
At the end of each workday, the students gathered for a session they called Reflections. This one came near the end of their Americus experience.
You pointed out to Grace, I hope you said, that we're not there just to satisfy our idle curiosity. And that's...
What do you think this 2 weeks has taught you? What have you learned?
I think that it's taught me to respect people for what they are, because you don't have to have money or an education to be a good person. And there are a lot of people out there who just haven't had the opportunity. And
Jennifer Pope, whose home is in Shaker Heights, Ohio, says she hopes to return to Americus this summer to help some more.
You really have to look beyond how they dress and what kind of house they live in and what race they are and that sort of thing. That there's somebody inside, and once you talk to the person, they can be really interesting and have something to say to you that you can learn.
Still, what we did was only a drop in the bucket, because I was driving around town today on some of the streets that are they're kind of far away from this one that haven't been worked on as much, and there's still so many homes that need help, and I don't know, I just feel like, you know, I need to do so much more, but you can only do so much, you know.
I mean, you can be a layperson and do all kinds of things for the community and other people. I feel with this kind of experience, you really, if you go back and don't do anything, you know, if you just go back and say, I've done it, that's it, you know, then you sort of wasted your time here.
And I think that if we're ever going to solve some of these problems, it's going to take a lot more commitment than what people are making. And I don't know if I'm willing to make that commitment. It's a hard, I mean, that's hard to admit to yourself that you're just giving what is easy to give and not what's hard.
When you need it most, you can get extra strength relief from acid indigestion with extra strength Riopan Plus. In lab tests, it neutralizes twice the acid as regular Maalox or Mylanta. It's that strong. You can also get extra strength relief from heartburn with extra strength Riopan Plus. Ounce for ounce, it neutralizes twice the acid as regular Maalox or Mylanta. It's that strong. Extra strength Riopan Plus. Regular strength, too.
Well, gentlemen, that takes care of business today.
I forgot about Jason.
Jason, your report on electric motors.
Gentlemen, I have searched for and found 200 electric motors that will save the firm $69,000 over the purchase price of some other motors we could buy.
Very impressive, Jason.
Excuse me, if I may?
Yes, Brian.
Gentlemen, there is another choice. High-efficiency electric motors from GE. These will cost $69,000 more going in. However, owing to their remarkable energy efficiency, they'll more than pay for themselves over the first year. And over the next 10 years, gentlemen, that's a savings of $1,587,855.
And 22 cents?
High-efficiency motors from GE, proving again that penny wise is still pound foolish.
Nice going, Grant.
It's Grant, sir.
Yeah, Grant.
Ever try borrowing for something unusual, like a family gym? Big financial institutions don't always understand, but someone does.
Hi, I'm Jack.
The boss at Beneficial. We're big, but we have beneficial home equity loans just right for home improvements. It's just you and the boss, and a commitment, usually in 48 hours.
That does it.
Glad it worked out.
Beneficial. Talk to the manager, and you're talking to the boss.
It is a warm Easter morning in the lower 48, but still a bit nippy in Alaska. And bears there, as far as we know, still are dreaming. Those dreams, we're pretty sure, involve briskly flowing streams and all the different kinds of salmon which have gone to those streams to spawn. For the bears, it might as well be spring. I'm Charles Kuralt. I hope you'll join us here again next Sunday morning.